Hey guys, Darren here, Primal Panic. Someone asked me how to make my hospital sign, so I thought I'd walk you through as best I can. I don't have any video of me actually making it, but I got some photos and drawings, so let's take a look. Okay, so here we have the design that I drew to make the hospital sign. I used one sheet of plywood. I actually used OSB. Which is 48 inches wide by 96 tall, so it's a 4x8 sheet, and two 2x2s. These are 8-foot long 2x2s. So to start, you're going to cut your 4x8 sheet of plywood or OSB in half, and that's going to give you two pieces that are 48 by 48 like this. The first thing you want to do is create these two U shapes, and you do that. Mine is 10 inches here, 10 inches here, 10 inches here. So to get that size, you're going to cut out the center here 28 inches wide by 38 inches tall, and that's going to give you two of these U shapes. And these two pieces that are 28 by 38, that's over here. These two pieces, one will become the shield that goes in the middle of the sign. So you have this size to work with. Of course, you could use any shape you want. I selected this one. This piece right here, these two pieces, 9 inches wide by 24 inches long. This is actually going to go on the bottom here to support this. And these two 14-inch pieces are the end caps that go on the top of each one of these pillars. So when you get your two U shapes cut out, we're going to build a skeleton structure to kind of secure it, make it strong with these 2x2s. And that's what we're seeing here. All these squares right here, these are 2x2s that connect the two pieces together. I screwed and glued all these, and they're all flush up against the edges, because we're actually going to be using this to put the foam everywhere. This whole thing is skinned in styrofoam. But these bottom three right here, I brought them in a ½ inch. The OSB that I was using was actually not quite a ½ inch. It was 7/16, so it's a little less than a ½ inch. So these are all 7/16 from the edge. So the edge actually comes down a little proud from these supports, so that these two pieces can go right in here. Let's see. This isn't exactly straight, but they're going to fit right in there along the bottom. Two pieces. One here, and then the other one would go here, right along the bottom. And if we're looking at a profile of this, it's going to look something like this. That's one sheet. That's the other sheet, both of these at about a ½ inch. And these pieces right here are going to be your 2x2 supports. So you're going to have one on the outside, which is here, and one on the inside. Then you're going to have one in the middle here, in the middle equidistant between here and here. And then you're going to have one about here, which is also going to be equidistant between here and here, right in the middle. And then you're going to be able to see these, which is this one and this one, which is here. And then this bottom one is of course going to sit just a ½ inch from the bottom, so you have room to put these two pieces in the bottom here. And that actually makes it very strong. And then with these two pieces that we've cut out, you'll cut out your shield, and you want to give yourself an inch or two on each side. So I cut it out just a little smaller so it would hang and be able to move without hitting anything. And I attached it with a chain from right in the middle of this part right here, which hangs about here, and the chain goes to from there to about there. So I actually had to put another support right here. But if your actually shield is different, it's going to hang different. So you have to, once you get this made and framed, you'll have to create the sign, see how you're going to hang it with the chain, where you want to connect it, and put those supports in here. So here's the drawing if you want to take a screenshot of that. Here's the sign when I got it skinned with the extruded foam. You can see the end caps. I've also put a layer on there because a ½ inch really wasn't thick enough. I'd like to be able to get thicker foam, but in Texas, unfortunately, the thickest we have, ½ inch. That's all we can get. So I'm jealous of all you guys that can get 2-inch and 3-inch extruded foam. I'd love to be able to do that without stacking and layering. To cut the grout lines, you're going to need a Dremel. You don't have to have an expensive one. You can get one like this at Harbor Freight. They're like $7 or $8. They're real cheap. It'll do the job just fine. Put a ½ inch stone bit in there, or a grinding wheel, or that sandpaper disc, and cut your grout lines. And it spins clockwise. So if you're holding it with your right hand, you're going to want to use a straight edge so the Dremel doesn't jump around, and go ahead and run your grout lines. I did horizontal first, and then I did vertical. Put your grout lines all the way around it, but then you want to distress the brick. As you can see here, I just gouged it. I took a wire brush and just gouged it. And then you want to use some joint compound to seal your edges all the way around. I put the joint compound on there first and got it nice and smooth before I ran my grout lines. But after you do that and you start distressing the brick, don't worry about overdoing it. I mean, it really looks pristine when you get all those grout lines cut. You really want to mess up that brick. I mean, just scratches and cut big chunks out. You want it to look kind of old, and it looks much better after you do that. Okay, so after you've got your grout lines cut, you've distressed the brick, I went ahead and put 2 coats of Drylok on there. And if you used Drylok before, you know how important it is to protect your props from the rain and the moisture. So go ahead and spend the money for the Drylok and put a couple coats on. After the Drylok is dry, I got some brick colored paint, and I used a cheap roller. It has to be a cheap roller because if you use a roller with a thick nap on it, it'll get inside the grout line. So use a cheap roller and roll it on very lightly, and that will get all the brick colored without getting inside the grout lines. I like the way it looked at this point. I was actually going to paint the bricks some different colors and paint them a little better than the roller got, but it actually looked pretty good. So I stopped there and went ahead and started on the sign. Okay, so for the shield, I used that extra piece of OSB that we cut out of the middle. I put some joint compound all over the surface and sanded it a couple times. I wanted it to be as smooth as possible. And then I got some vinyl peel and stick letters for the Hillview Sanitarium at the top, or sanatorium in this case. The bottom there, it says Medicus Curat Natura Sanat. And I'm sure I'm murdering that, but it's Latin. I saw it on a hospital sign when I was Googling pictures. And it basically means doctors cure, nature heals. And I thought that would be a nice little touch. So the middle is a piece of the foam. I used a bowl to cut it out and a cross in the middle. And then I laid a piece over the whole shield and cut it out to match, and then trimmed it a ½ inch all the way around. And once I got it all glued in place and it was cleaned up and ready to paint, we started by painting it black first, solid black. And that way the copper paint would go a little further. Once we got it all painted copper and that dried, then the letters kind of got lost. They were real hard to see, the letters, so we went ahead and touched up the letters and the middle hospital sign and everything that's raised with a bronze color, and that made it a little easier to see the letters. And then we took it outside after it dried and I patinaed it. I did that by mixing some blues and greens to get the color I wanted. And once you get the color you want, you add some water, get the paint nice and runny, and then just dab it all over the place and it'll just run down. And then get a spray bottle with water, spray it while you're doing it so it's runny and going all over the place. It'll make a mess, but once it dries it looks like this, which is pretty good patina and real easy. And I'm of course not a painter, so I had no experience doing this. I just watched other videos and I was able to see how they did it, and it works out very well. So once I did that, I put eye hooks in the sign, attached them with a chain inside each pillar, and that's the finished product right there. Anyway, if you have any, you can see I didn't paint the tops of the end caps yet in this picture, but I did end up painting those as well. So, and I think at some point I'd like to put some lights on the top of each pillar, a little round globe or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's it. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks, guys.